hooked in the game.
Arsenal will look to put their disappointment at the Bernabeu behind them, and standing in their way today is another one of the traditional top four. After a loss against City and a draw against Liverpool, now they take on Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and it's live. Welcome to Stamford Bridge as we start to approach a more business end of this Premier League season. And it's another top six clash for Arsenal. 0-1 against the top six. Well, 1-1 if you count Newcastle United in that bracket. So even the top eight, they're 1-1 after losing to Manchester City. So this is another big, crucial game with Arsenal just 2 points behind the leaders Manchester United and jumping at the heels of Newcastle United after grabbing that vital win at St James's Park that brought them right back in the hunt for the title. And then obviously followed that up with a bit of an unfortunate loss to Real Madrid in the Champions League, even though there was an air of expectancy about it. And here we are, back to reunited acquaintances in the Premier League. Marcelo is coming along nicely at Chelsea now. He, along with Spurs, were down towards the bottom after about 5 games or so, but now both of those teams are on a pretty decent run right now, and it's starting to click. And you may have noticed a familiar someone in the lineup for Chelsea, and we'll see it in just a moment, but there is a returnee for a third or fourth time there now. Robert Sanchez will start in goal, and of course the captain Cover is at the central defence there. There's Marcelo and Arden Rabiot with Madueke and Nkuku. Romelu Lukaku is the man up front for Chelsea once again for a third time back at his former club. David Raya is in goal for Arsenal. It's the traditional back four as Zinchenko and Benjamin White come back in. Declan Rice is with Moreno and Odegaard. The front three, of course, with Martinelli replacing Leandro Trossard from the Real Madrid match. Bukayo Saka and Alexander Isak are mainstay, as you would expect. So, here we go then. Another vital clash for Arsenal. They keep coming now, don't they? We talk about these kind of matches and how vital it is for Arsenal to keep pace with City and Newcastle as much as they can, because City, especially, still undefeated in this Premier League season. They really could go the whole season unbeaten if it stays that way, of course. Sanchez clears that one. Well, Arsenal will be looking to bounce back from that setback at the Bernabeu. There was a lot more of expectancy about it. And now, of course, Martinelli is in. And like we said, Gabriel Martinelli has been rather of an unsung hero for Arsenal this season. If there was a sixth man of the year, like there is in the NBA, Martinelli would probably win it hands down at the moment. Caicedo, Rabiot, Lukaku, Modric, and Nkuku. Many good names in this Chelsea side. Marcelo is building a good squad here. And of course, we're coming off the news earlier this week that Erik ten Hag has been sacked by Manchester United. Madueke with a shot. And, well, it was all going wrong for Erik ten Hag. Now Manchester United are back in 8th again and struggling in the Europa League, as you saw by our halfway check at the standings. Erik ten Hag has been let go of and replaced on an interim basis by Ruud van Nistelrooy. Certainly not a name I would have put into the ring for. But let's see how it goes. And this Nistelrooy, Manchester United legend, no doubt about it. And striking prowess, of course. And, well, he was one of the reasons Manchester United won a couple of league titles with his goal scoring. And will he be able to bring a new lease of scoring life to Manchester United this season? Because winning has been very hard to come by at Old Trafford. Whereas the women's team is somewhat going from strength to strength and challenging for the title, the men's side are floundering by the wayside, very much so. As Madrid takes this free kick, it bounces off the head of Rice. I'm not really sure how much he knew about that, to be honest. But yes, our first managerial casualty is Erik ten Hag. Some will say he shouldn't have been there to begin with. The fans wrote an open letter requesting him to stay after the FA Cup win. And it's up to really you what side of the fence you're on when it comes to that. I personally would have probably changed managers after the FA Cup. But then I was pretty disappointed to learn that Louis van Gaal had been sacked at the same time. Because I, for one, and yes, I probably do have a certain level of buoyancy here, I do feel Louis van Gaal was going places, and I could say that now because it's been such a long time. It's been over a decade since Louis van Gaal was last manager of Manchester United, so I feel with some confidence that I can say that Louis van Gaal was definitely going places, as Marcus Rashford could probably attest to. And Rashford is having his own crisis of confidence at United right now, as is many others really, and now it's another transitional phase. And it's even worse when you think that most of the signings, like Joshua Zirkzee and others... Oh, and there's a goal by Romelu Lukaku for Chelsea. Well, that certainly wasn't in the script. Well, he seems to never age, Romelu Lukaku. Another goal for Chelsea. He's been here a couple of times before. And, well, there's a surprise. He nicked the ball off Gabriel. He went down injured now. Should there be a case of a foul against Lukaku? I don't think so. It's not really like Lukaku. I think Raya probably could have done better there, if we're being honest. But it's not like Lukaku. He got the ball. And I think there was an awkward fall that Gabriel had suffered. Now, that's going to frighten Arteta a bit. Because Gabriel has been the stone wall that Arsenal have fortified for themselves. They have conceded the odd goal here and there. They conceded 6 against Real Madrid. But, yeah, that's a surprising script. Romelu Lukaku has scored for Chelsea. And they're up by 1-0. Arsenal behind once again. We'll have to wait and see whether Gabriel can run that knock off, to be honest. But, oh, here's Odegaard. And Arsenal looking for that immediate response. We know they're capable of it. Dezay has done a good tackle there. And now here's Arden Rabiot signed for the free agency pool. Of course, he wasn't the only one, as Memphis Depay was signed by Manchester United. But Memphis Depay, Joshua Zirkzee, Mazraoui, De Ligt, all Ten Hag signings, and they've let him go within the first 10 or so games of the season. It's just really is just a story of United's 10 years so far. This what was supposed to be a fresh start under a new ownership of Ineos really hasn't turned out to be that way at the moment. Of course, the Glazers family still own the most majority of the club, and Jim Ratcliffe is only having sporting and football operations, but it's just not going right. And now, it makes you wonder why Ineos even gave him the backing if they were going to sack him within 10 or so games. There were questions over whether he was going to be sacked at the FA Cup, and we thought it really wasn't their choice when there was an open letter delivered by the fans to request him to stay. And now, that's all gone to pot, really. And now Manchester United are left in a state of what happens now. And that really is a question. You know, all the money from the transfer window was pretty much spent on everyone that they wanted. They didn't even land Manuel Ugarte, remember? They didn't even get him at all. So it is really just United. It's just a crisis at the moment. It really is. We hate to use it, but United is just falling apart right now. And it really is kind of sad for me to witness. Martinelli going for another strike there. And what was Sanchez? He probably would have got there, you know. Well, Chelsea really against the run of play to a degree. Certainly Lukaku wasn't on my bingo card to score in this game. He wasn't even supposed to be there. Apparently Napoli were kind of chasing him, but instead he's gone back to Chelsea for a third try in his Chelsea career. As we said, I think he's been there a couple of times already. He had a stint at Manchester United, of course, as Martinelli's gone down, and that will worry Arteta as well. Now, what's the card going to be here? It's going to be a straight red for Mal Guzzo. Another red card this season. We've had a lot of them in our coverage. And Mal Guzzo is the latest. And we were saying Morenza has done a pretty good job so far. But now he's going to play the rest of this match with 10 men. And we know how deadly Arsenal can be when they have a man advantage. And here it is with Isak. It's a good save by Sanchez, to be fair. Don't think he really knew that much about it, to be honest. And here is Madueke, tackled by Martinelli. And out for a Chelsea throw. Well, Chelsea have the lead, but for how much longer? Will be the question now. But it's all started to click for Marcelo. It didn't really start well. Like Spurs, they were towards the bottom 4 places in the league. Now, Chelsea and Spurs in particular are climbing the table. But have they fallen too far behind the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City and Newcastle United to challenge for a title now? They might have done. Here's Diazy. And that's going to be picked up by Moreno because there was a miscue by the Chelsea midfielder there. But Ben White finds Odegaard. Moreno. Odegaard to Moreno and now to Alexander Isak. Sanchez with a good save. Well, what must he be thinking? He must be hoping that Gabriel isn't injured too badly, because they could really do with him this season. He and Saliba are going to be the cornerstone when it comes to defending. Here is Saliba. And he would have got a surprise goal there, but he's got the ball. He finds Alexander Isak and Daisy clears it away, but only as far as Saka. Arsenal trying to apply the pressure. Saka probably should have gone down there for a penalty, but I don't think it would have been given regardless if he did. And now Chelsea come away with it. With, I think... I'm not sure who that is. It's not Palmer, it's Manduk actually. There. I think Cole Palmer was on the subs bench. I'm not sure. I don't think I saw him. Strangely. Or Nicholas Jackson for that matter. The lineups go by very much quicker than they have in previous years. So, and already a substitution. This is not one Mikel Arteta would probably want to make right now. But Gabriel is going off. And Mon Lewis, it's a lot for a youngster at this stage in his career, at this stage of Premier League proceedings. But he is coming on, and we hope that Gabriel is not heavily injured and he will get well soon. Martinelli trying to bring Arsenal back into this, and I think he's forced a corner. Well, we wish Gabriel the best. And we hope it is not too bad, and I'm sure Mikel Arteta does too. It's going to be a lot on Ben Lewis and Rec as centre-back replacements right now. Calvori is obviously there. And who knows what Arsenal will do in the winter window. The winter window isn't one for really transfers. They do have some wild ones, but Arsenal, rumours are they could be back in the market. It really depends on their position and what the injuries will do at the time. That's what the window really has. And Arsenal have made a couple of shocking winter signings before. Who remembers Andre Arshavin that came through? I think Nasri was another one. I'm sure he was a deadline day signing somewhere. But I distinctly remember Arshavin more than some others. Ryan makes a save from Lukaku this time. Remember Lukaku, you've got to give it to him. Bit evergreen. But certainly a man with a lot of experience, which Chelsea could really count on right now, because a lot of their team is quite young. Chelsea have a lot of a young team here that Marcelo is building. After all the, let's say, not disasters, but certainly shenanigans that Chelsea have had in recent years. Graham Potter rebuilt almost the entire squad at one point and then was sacked about a year later. And then, of course, the saga with Roman Abramovich. Not there anymore, of course. New owners, they backed Graham Potter, and it didn't really amount to much in the end, despite almost I think it was almost £1 billion probably being spent by them alone over the course of 2 or 3 windows that Graham Potter had. So, going back to Manchester United for a moment, well, Ruben Almiron is number 1 to replace Erik ten Hag. Graham Potter's another. I think even Gareth Southgate has been thrown around. I personally, if I was to choose, I probably would pick Ruben Almiron of those 3 options. It's going to be a tough kind of era for him as Bukayo Saka scores and Arsenal equalise. And that was coming. And that is expected when you have Bukayo Saka in your team. Well, he was the goal scorer against Real Madrid that sparked a bit of a fight back. Here today, it puts Arsenal right back on level terms. I mean, personally, my number 1 pick for Manchester United would be Eddie Howe, but he's not really available right now. In fact, I think, thinking about it, I think I take Eddie Howe at Arsenal too. I think Arsenal would be a better fit for him. But let's be honest here, he's doing wonders with this Newcastle United side, so I don't think they'll be letting him go anytime soon. But if it ever was to happen, I think Arsenal would be perfect for him. And the way he builds up young players and improves the ones already on the pitch. But let's be honest here, I don't think Mikel Arteta is going anywhere, because right now Arsenal are in the ascendancy since Arteta took over. And now Saka again, and it's not the curse of the commentators, but it's definitely giving us a good luck. Bukayo Saka scored a second just at the brink of half time, and that really proves my point. That man right there is doing wonders this season. He's made all the right moves with the signings of Saka, or not Saka, but Isak in particular, being absolutely crucial, and I'm pretty sure that came off an assist from Isak as well. Saka and Isak have absolutely thrived in Arsenal's system this season, and now Isak is really coming into his own and making that front striker position his own position. Backed up behind that star boy there, Bukayo Saka makes it 2-1 as the turnaround is complete once again. And Chelsea's early lead has been wiped out, and the man advantage once again is counting for Arsenal here. And that's going to be a free kick. And next for Chelsea will be a trip to the King Power Stadium to face Leicester City. And a really interesting hair design there from, I'm not sure who that is. I guess we'll pick him up later. Here is Isak. Maybe to launch one last attack. He picks out Martinelli. The man on form. Can he make it 3? Good save from Sanchez. Martinelli himself has been on really goal-scoring trend this season. Martinelli has got a lot more goals than people expected. 6th man of the year. If football ran it, he would definitely be one of the 11, one of the 5 7 men on the subs bench now. Certainly been a super sub. Martinelli's been much more than that as well. Started a few games. Albert, the Chelsea captain. And that will be probably the end of the game, although I think Declan Rice will take this throw in first. Well, this is a vital result for Arsenal. Chelsea are still a top 6 side, even in transition. So this will definitely be a good 3-pointer for them. Oh, and Isak, oh, he fouled the other player, Calboro, I think it was. I don't think he really touched him. I think Isak should have been free to go through on goal there. I think Chelsea got away with one, to be honest. Picked up by Isak. It's a poor free kick. And that is the end of the first half. Well, Romelu Lukaku scoring for Chelsea was not on my bingo card, much less him being there. But what was 2 goals from Bukayo Saka. And that's exactly what happened. And Arsenal have made the man advantage count once again. Chelsea 1, Arsenal 2. Welcome back to Stamford Bridge as we kick off the second half with a bit of a crucial Premier League match this afternoon, or tonight, as Arsenal are taking on Chelsea in a bit of a top 6 clash. We have a substitution to talk about, as Rek has come on for, I think it was Saliba, who of course played in the Champions League against Real Madrid. But Arsenal were forced into an early substitution early on, when Gabriel went off injured. We'll wait for no news on his condition, and we'll give it as soon as we have it. So that's a bit of a scare for Arteta. But here, they still lead by 2-1 because we had a sending off earlier. Mal Gusso was sent for an early bath. And Chelsea have been down to 10 men ever since. And Arsenal once again making the man advantage count. And it's Marcelo has had a really decent recovery part of the season up to this point. But now he's coming up against title contenders. And it's really showing so far. Salah has a very interesting hair choice. A very long... It's almost like that 80s hair, isn't it? Well, next for Arsenal will be a trip, well, the visit, really, of Nottingham Forest. Next time out as we enter the real matches period of the season. November, December, January, matches keep on coming. And it even goes into early February as well. If you progress that far, you have Carabao Cup, and then you have FA Cup almost immediately after. If you're still in it at that point, which Arsenal still are, after progressing through against Bolton. They were drawn up against Spurs in the next round, so we'll have another London derby to look forward to. Christopher Nkuku has found Madueke. Madueke has gone back to Nkuku and back to Madueke. And Mon Lewis with a very good tackle there at the back. If Mon Lewis and Rek can perform well, there'll be good replacements if Gabriel is injured. Here is Caicedo to Kusela. For Chelsea, it seems to be 2 men keeping it amongst themselves. That's continuing right now. Here's Modric. And Declan Rice has gathered that one up. Then White to Odegaard. And he sent away Bukayo Saka. On a hat-trick currently. Looking for one, that is. Yeah, he's beaten Kusela. All ends up. Rabiot's gone with it. So did the keeper. Declan Rice! And Declan Rice has scored his first goal this season. It's been a long time coming for Declan Rice. He was one of the players that I'm surprised hasn't scored already. But now he's finally put that right and Arsenal are out of sight. That rhymed accidentally. Good strike by Declan Rice, to be fair. Sanchez, nothing he could do about it. And, well, this could be a true sign of Arsenal's title intentions this season. But they just need to hope City and Newcastle can drop points somewhere. Because, particularly, as we said, Manchester City unbeaten for the season so far. In the league, anyway. 1 goal in 11 matches for Declan Rice. So we are in the first 15 matches, and already the system will have to change at Manchester United. I think Manchester United have probably already lost, I think. I'll have to look at the scores later. He's up. And if that is the case, then the new manager bounce just isn't working. Even at Manchester United right now, just to compound their matters. That'd probably be the last thing that someone would hit them with. No new manager bounce. It tends to happen sometimes. Certainly help for Mikel Arteta. He knows all about that. Taking over from Unai Emery and winning the FA Cup later in that season. It's very remarkable. Although I think Unai Emery probably deserved more time than he got. But that's the way football is. It is, in the end, it is a results business. And results have not gone the way of Manchester United, and they have pulled the trigger. That was, like I said though, was Erik ten Hag even their voice choice? And if he wasn't, why did they back him so much? They wanted to probably prove that maybe he could make it work, and it just hasn't. I know we talk about United a lot here. Probably should be focusing more on the game, but here comes Nicholas Jackson. I think he was an Arsenal target at one point, but they ended up going with Isak instead, and I think that proved to work wonders, to be honest.
We've had a pair of car keys handed in at reception. A pair of car keys and a wallet. If those are your items, please collect them after the game. Thank you.
Well, there's something you don't hear on a PA every day. Some car keys and a wallet. Respect to the person that has handed that in. Real respect there. If I found that guy, I would definitely shake his hand and give him props, because a lot of people probably wouldn't have done that, such as society sometimes. But that is just a restore faith in humanity moment. And that's really good props to that guy. Anyway, the ball ended up with Saka there, but he had to bring it down, and the touch was just a bit too heavy for him to bring that one down. So 2 for Saka and 1 for Declan Rice. No goals for Isak so far. Here's Moreno. And Isak has already scored his fair share of goals, so he won't mind not having 1 or 2. I almost went in from Moreno. It's closer than it looked. Lukaku headed up for the Duke there. Martinelli. Where has this form come from? Gabriel Martinelli. He's not one of the players that many Arsenal fans would have put on to do the performances he has, but he's pulled them out. A very good job, and Arsenal have been really comfortable since the 3rd goal, to be honest. This is certainly a match which certainly signals their title intentions this season. And Chelsea don't look really at the races now. I think they're running out of ideas. So much so that the player was running back there. Lukaku's picking out Saka. Saka with intent and pace. Daisy can't knock him off the ball, and Saka keeps going. Advantage gained for Arsenal. And Rabiot literally flying over the top of Isak, but look where Isak is. He scored. 4-1. Alex Isak has scored again. Well, it's another goal for the ever-impressive Alexander Isak, as his career is skyrocketing in Arsenal now. Bit of a slow start, you could argue. A lot of people had him down as maybe playing as a false 9, which he's not really used to, but Arteta's switch of systems has benefited him and Saka in particular. And this is why, and he is probably one of the many reasons Arsenal are in this position. They have a lot of goals from unfamiliar sources, but Isak is the main source. And they're up by 4-1 and literally in control of this game now. Chelsea have pretty much run out of ideas since pretty the second one went in. And here comes Isak again. He's caught Chelsea defence napping. Sanchez clears it away. Now in comes Isak again to receive the ball. Not often that happens. He's found Saka. And it's ping-ponged around and Chelsea come up with it. Now, they could probably break here with Lukaku, but he doesn't have the pace he once did. And he's picked out Madueke instead. In fact, Lukaku has actually busted the gun to get into the box. Madueke goes alone. And he probably, you could argue, should have pulled it back to Lukaku, to be honest. Oh, Nkuku! He's dispossessed Ben White, and Rek is right there with a challenge. What a challenge by Omar Rek, the youngster. And that will go down well with Mikel Arteta as Enzo's coming on. Wow. He came from absolutely nowhere. And Enzo took the corner. Martinelli heads it away down to Declan Rice, and he heads further away. Substitution in the offing for Arsenal. And Lukaku with a shot. That's straight at David Raya. Well, Murray, you've got to give him credit for that magnificent piece of defending to snuff that chance out. Lukaku dispossessing Ben White brilliantly, coming into the box. In comes Freck out of nowhere, forces a corner. That was brilliant. And now Shinchenko. And now Rek again. Right to Rice. Odegaard. And Odegaard has sent Alexander Isak on his way. And Isak makes it 5-2 for him today. Another 5-star Arsenal performance. And another 2 for Isak. I'm not sure how many that gives him now. I think he's in the 10s. Let's have a look when it comes up later. Another strike there by Isak. Sanchez just cannot stop the scoring prowess that is Arsenal. And that makes it 5-1 as Wanyeri comes on for Moreno, I believe that is. And more time for Arsenal's bright young stars to make their mark. Rek has certainly made some mark tonight. And that is 10 in 9 for Alexander Isak. Already on 10 goals already. And his Arsenal career has barely got started. But you'd expect nothing less from the absolute scoring talent that Isak is. Wanyeri to Saka. It's beautiful play. And he probably should have picked out Isak there. Well, a question that will often come up with Arsenal this season is how many more, because they are scoring a lot of goals this year. We said coming in to the season that Arsenal probably needed an out-and-out striker, and I think we're seeing the results of that very move. Arsenal are comfortable, but it's not all a one-man show. Saka is obviously the other centrepiece, but they get the goals from unlikely sources too. Trossard had 7 in the game. Martinelli has got a bunch. Odegaard's got a couple. Even Declan Rice is going on the act today. Anyone and anyone, everyone and anyone can score for Arsenal. 4 minutes of added on time, and Arsenal have been out of sight for quite some time in this game. Here's Diazy. Tackled by Isak. Isak powers through again. Will it be a hat-trick for Isak? It will. It's 6-1 to Arsenal. Hat-trick for Alexander Isak. I think that's his second of his Arsenal career already. He is banging them in. That's his 11th goal of the season. And it's only rising further and further. Chelsea have been played off the park. And Arsenal have the perfect response to the setback at the Bernabeu Stadium. They scored 4 in that game as well, though, don't forget. It's just that Real Madrid had 2 more to their scoreline, but today Arsenal have got 6 of their own. 3 from Isak, 2 from Saka, and even 1 for Declan Rice of all people. And Stamford Bridge. You can almost hear a pin drop here. And here comes Alex Isak again. Surely not 6 and 4 and 7 for him. Clearly not. But, wow. What a game. Arsenal pretty much were out of the stadium by the second half. Already moving on to Nottingham Forest by that point. Alexander Isak has a hat-trick. And all the rest of it is just glorious Arsenal play, really. Chelsea were never really in it after the first half ended. And they went a man down. Because Arsenal are experts at giving the man advantage count. It's Chelsea 1, Arsenal 6. And let's take a look at all the other scores from this weekend's matches and what that leaves for the table. Brentford beat Bournemouth by a goal to nil, surprisingly, as Brentford really are having a good season, as you can see by their Premier League position. We'll get to that in a moment. West Ham and Everton 0-0 draw, no goals to speak of at the London Stadium. In South London, Crystal Palace 1, Fulham 1 in a bit of a London derby. It ended in a stalemate. Wolves finally get a win on the board after some time, beating newly promoted Southampton by 2-1. Manchester City win again, as expected, by 2-1 against Brighton. Liverpool beat Aston Villa as they continue to really shrink this season. I don't know what's happened, but they're sinking. Tottenham beat Ipswich by 2-1. Newcastle beat Nottingham Forest by 2-1. Ruud van Nistelrooy kicks off his tenure at United with a 3-1 win, and a much-needed one against Leicester City. And, well, what that means for the table is this. City lead. Have we made a mistake somewhere? No, I thought we did. But City do lead ahead of Newcastle United by 4 points now. Arsenal a further point back. City continue to stretch their lead. Spurs up to 4th, believe it or not. 5 points off their fierce rivals. Liverpool 5th, followed by Brentford. Manchester United with a much needed win under Ruud van Nistelrooy puts them up to 7th with Chelsea's loss today. Bournemouth 9th, followed by Leicester City. Brighton in 11th place. West Ham ahead of Aston Villa. As we said, they're really stinking this year for some reason. Forest 14th, followed by Fulham. Everton out of the relegation places. Crystal Palace in the last of the safe zone. 3 points clear of Southampton, Ipswich and Wolves, who finally get points on the board, will be now right back into the relegation fight.